Most people are familiar with the W210 E55 AMG and perhaps even the earlier E50 AMG with the M119 engine, but I bet most people have not heard of the E60 AMG. There is also a E36 AMG model with the M104 3.6 liter inline six. The E36 is rumored to be the rarest variant of the W210 AMG cars with production figures in the 40s. However, there isn't any solid information directly from Mercedes or AMG about production numbers of any of these cars. The only solid information I was able to find was on the E55 W210 models. There's really no solid source information for the E50, E36, and E60 AMGs. So what is an E60 AMG? Well, it is a 6-liter M119. So this is a pretty cool throwback to the W124 Hammer with its 6-liter engine. However, the W124's got a M117 in their Hammer variant, and later on there was some M119 6-liters dropped in them as well. So most E60 AMGs are model year 1997. This particular one is a 1996, and this one is a little bit more special than the rest. So a little history on this car. The first owner of this car was a man named Domingos Piedade, who was working at AMG, and he was pretty high up at the time. The story goes is that a special customer ordered a W210 E60, but ordered it with a 6.3 liter M119 V8, and Domingos got to drive this car and he wanted one for himself, so this car was made for him. So while there were actually many aftermarket tuners doing 6-liter plus M119s and W210s, such as Brabus with their E60 and E65, even Rentec, there's another company called VATH. I may be pronouncing that incorrectly, but it is spelled V-A-T-H or V-A-E-T-H. They also did a AMG E60 conversion. However, that is not the same as AMG doing it themselves. That company VATH is also a sublet that AMG sometimes used to make engines. Generally, VATH vehicles are not considered real AMGs and are usually just considered another aftermarket company like Rentec or Brabus. But this particular car is made by AMG themselves. The VIN is recognized on the AMG private lounge. So rumor has it there are about maybe 2 or 3 of these cars in existence made by AMG. This particular car is special because the owner is Domingos Piedade, so this car had some special options. So Domingos Piedade, working at AMG, obviously he lived in Germany at the time, probably not Falterbach. So this car is a Euro car. It is an actual German car, not like the cars here. This was a car for the German market. So this is a European spec model. So we will notice it has the fender indicator, which is not standard on pre-facelift US cars. It has no side marker here. We will also notice in the back that it has the European trunk. So what the difference is that the entire trunk is specific for US and Euro. That around the license plate it goes out further to accommodate the wider European license plate. So sometime early on in its life, when this car was a couple years old, it was imported into the United States. That is a very difficult process to do, but it was done by Barry Taylor Enterprises, who was commonly known in the older days as AMG West. So that was the West Coast dealer of AMG parts to convert cars to pre-merger AMG status. So this car was imported by him. So we will see a sticker right here that indicates that. So it is imported by Barry Taylor Enterprises. So here it is listed out the specifications. So date manufactured 1196. This is a very late 96 production car. Of course, it lists the weight, and it says this car conforms to all the US laws, and underneath is of course a VIN number. So obviously the AMG West was in Northern California. So to register a car there, you obviously have to pass emissions. So this is another sticker indicating that it was modified to pass emissions. Here's another sticker indicating that it was federalized to be registered in California. So this indicates that it has a catalyst. So if we look underneath this car, it does look like it appears to have cats. One extraordinarily interesting thing about this car being here and being federalized is that it still has its European cluster. So this is actually particularly noteworthy because normally when cars are imported here, they get swapped to the US miles an hour cluster. So all this is lost, normally doesn't come with the car. But this one still has its cluster, and this is a particularly interesting one because a standard W210 AMG cluster will normally just go to 260 instead of the 300 kilometers. And I've actually seen some as low as 240. I've seen other E60s at 280, but never at 300. That's quite interesting that this has a 300 kilometer cluster. And of course, to match, everything here is Euro spec. So we got Celsius, 24-hour clock, and that's all kilometers as well. So I'm going to now point out exactly which options were specific to this car that most likely no other W210 has. So before I start, I just want to point out again that this is a 1996. This is the very first year of the W210. Most of these M119 AMG cars are 97s. The fact that this is 96, especially being a 6-liter plus car, is definitely another special fact about it. So first and foremost, let's start with the paint. This is a Designo Diamond Black Metallic 768. So this is a color that was never offered on the W210, and it is a very gorgeous color. So perhaps on the hood vents you could see kind of what the color looks like. It is very similar to Black Pearl 199. However, this is a little bit different and in my opinion looks a little bit better, especially in the sunlight. On the passenger door jamb, there is this sticker that is the Mercedes-Benz AMG Designo sticker. So this will show in German Diamond Schwarz. So that is obviously Diamond Black. And we'll see that the Mercedes AMG logo is on there. So this is not common among Designo vehicles. So for example, the Designo silver car I did a video on does not have this. This is a very special order car. So this color, like I said, was never offered on the W210. You can kind of see what the color looks like here under different lighting. And then when it's darker, it is almost black. And just to point out, the condition is very nice on this. It is almost like a mirror. So if we look at the car's data plaque right here in front of the engine, this right here where it says 000, that is the color code. So when it's 000, that means it's special paintwork. And if you run the VIN on this car, it will say special paintwork as an option. Also, like I said, when you run the VIN number, this comes up as an E50 AMG because all E60s started life as E50s that were later converted into the E60, which is just going from 5 liters to 6 liters. So we'll see that the Designo Diamond Black Metallic will continue to every part of this car. Obviously the whole car was painted when it was brand new with the bare shell, so all this beautiful paint is still there. So now let's talk about the engine, which is the biggest talking point on this car. So there's really no way to confirm what the displacement of this engine is. We know it is at least a 6-liter. So this is a M119 dual overhead cam, 4 valve per cylinder. So that's how they all were, but with increased displacement of 6 liters. So one way to check if this is a real 6-liter engine is if we come down here, we will see the engine stamping. So if we zoom in, it says AMG 60, and we'll see other numbers too. So we also see the compression ratio stamped there. So there are rumors that the 6.3 liter is 11 while the 6.0 is 10. However, it is very likely that when AMG built these less than one handful of engines, that of course they would make the tooling to make the engines, but would AMG actually also change out the stamping to reflect the different engines? So most likely the answer is no. However, it is possible they did, and this is just a 6.0. So surprisingly, on Wikipedia there does seem to be some information about the 6-liter and 6.3 liter M119 E60s. So there's no way to verify the source of this information to be factual or not. However, I will repeat it because it is interesting to note. So according to Wikipedia, if this engine is 6 liters, this will have 380 horsepower at 5750 RPM and 430 pound-feet of torque at 3750 RPM. If this is a 6.3, which is actually 6.298, it would have 400 horsepower at 5500 RPM and 454 pound-feet of torque at 3600 RPM. It is also claimed that the 6-liter will go 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 5.1 seconds, while the 6.3 will do it in 5 seconds flat. There really is no way to verify this information, but that is what is claimed. And no, I'm not gonna go V-box it. Another thing that is interesting to note is that the stroke of the 6.3 liter is supposed to be the same as the 6.5 liter Brabus. So that would be 100 millimeters. So the 6 liter is claimed to have a stroke of 94.8. Once again, I don't know where this information came from or how true it is, but that is just something I wanted to point out. While Domingos Piedade was alive, I did attempt to contact him to verify any of this information about this car. However, he did not respond, so I do not know anything more than I just stated. So we'll also see right here where the ECU is, some AMG stickers. So it tells you what spark plugs to use, air conditioning information. So we'll also see engine codes printed out. So when you see the E42, E50, E60, that's not referring to the E-Class. That's just how they refer to their engine. So E42 would be referring to the 4.2 liter M119 and so on and so forth. So it looks like this 140 part number also applied to the V12. So I'm guessing this is just for the cover. So one thing that is not standard on most W210 AMGs is this extra wood. So I have seen other W210 AMG models with this extra wood here and the handles. So what this car does even further is that the wood insert for the door latch, and that is on all 4 doors. Of course, it has the AMG stamped birdseye maple wood, but this was also available on other W210s. It's got the wood shift knob also available, and some E60s include a birdseye maple armrest. This one just has the stitched leather. There is also birdseye maple wood on this overhead console. So that's birdseye maple. So we'll see the rear is also the same story. It even has the birdseye maple ashtray, but the door handle inserts are there too. So in terms of woodwork, that's about the extent of how special it goes. But the special options for this car do not end there. We will see if we go look up. This is a complete leather, and mind you, this is Napa leather headliner. And we'll notice there's no sunroof on this car. That is an option that was deleted. So that's actually pretty uncommon, especially in a W210 AMG model. Most of them had sunroofs. And we will notice that the sun visors are leather too. On top of just the visor, it is the mirror cover too. So we will see here that the mirror cover is wrapped in leather. So when we open it, we will see along the edges, you see that's all leather. And on top of that, if we open this, they even wrapped right over here along the contact points in leather. That's leather as well. So if we look at the rear view mirror right here, we will see that it is also wrapped in leather. So this entire piece is leather, which is extremely uncommon among any W210. Even the trim piece above it is wrapped in leather. So on top of the extra wood, this is a very early shifter for this car. The later wood shifters look a lot different than this. And on top of that, we'll see that this locking ring at the bottom is wrapped in leather as well, which is extremely unique. And it's probably a really hard piece of leather to wrap. That has such a unique shape to that. And it's very well done. It's really hard to tell where it starts and ends. It is super smooth. So if we look at the seats, these are just the standard W210 pre-facelift AMG seats. So these were pretty much standard on 96 and 99 W210 AMGs. This is smooth leather right here and kind of a little bit more textured on the side. So this is referred to as anthracite and this is referred to as graphite. So it is kind of two-tone. Both of them are neither fully black and they have a lot of gray in them. This particularly more than this. But that is true of the rear seats as well, just standard W210 pre-facelift AMG seats. And we have the 210 pre-facelift door panels. So this is also Napa leather. This is leather right here. However, on the facelift model, they extended the leather to down here on the armrest. This is just vinyl. But other than that, standard door panel. Of course, being a Euro car, we got Euro door lock pins. Not common to see, but we also have the metal AMG door sills. So this is actually available as a dealer option, but this car has them. We will also notice that we have pedals that are metal instead of the standard rubber. So that is the AMG option again. And also notice the floor mat. We have a AMG stamped floor mat. So that is the correct AMG logo for this time period. And on top of that, the heel rest is leather. So that is the extent of how much leather this car has. And obviously it has leather piping as well to match. So this car has a lot of extra leather and wood. So here we notice the passenger side seat has the AMG logo in the floor mat with the leather piping. No heel rest, but that's how the passenger floor mat comes. And if we look in the back, it also has the matching leather piping AMG stamped floor mats. And of course we have the fourth floor mat here that matches. So another uncommon option that I've seen that this car has, which is also available on other cars, but it is rarely optioned, is the security trunk. So if we pop up in the trunk, we will see it has 3 latches. So this was kind of like a security theft feature to make it hard to break into the trunk, and we will notice that they are all functional too. So another thing that is unique about this car is that the fact that it does not have monoblocks. These are the R129 SL2 piece wheels. These wheels are special because they are manufactured by BBS, and these wheels are really aggressive for a W210. So we'll see that they sit really, really nice. They're all the way out to the fender. So AMG would normally roll W210 AMG fenders front and back. That is part of the body shell modification option when you decode your VIN. So we will see here that if we feel, it is rolled a little bit further and it looks like they stretched it just very slightly. It is not like super obvious. It's done in a very clean way to where it still looks good. So this is very evident on the rear because if you put these wheels on a W210, they do kind of poke. So we'll see here, these don't poke, they sit pretty flush. And if you know a W210 rear quarter panel and you put your finger here, it is extremely thick. Even with the W210 standard roll option, it is not this thin. So this is extremely thin. And we'll see they also slightly flared the rear. So it is very hard to see, but if you know what you're looking for, it is a little bit different than a standard W210. And let's also take a minute to look at these wheels. So these wheels are color matched to the body, which is not a standard thing that is normally done. This kind of throwback to the 124 days when they would do that. So it's like a pre-merger thing. So I just want to point out this car is not pre-merger. The first pre-merger AMG is usually considered a W202 C36. So the first year that car is a 95, this car is a 96. So this is definitely in the post-merger era, or what I like to call it, this is in the merging era. So this is definitely toward the end of its post-merger days. So they were able to do cool stuff like this. So these wheels are really cool because they are partially forged. So I believe it is the barrel that is forged and the front is just aluminum alloy cast. So we'll see that the bolts are titanium and they will have BBS stamping. So we'll see here, it says BBS on it. It is a very nice detail. And these are very beautiful wheels. These have a bigger lip than any AMG monoblock. And that is a machine lip, in case anyone's wondering. But that's very unique to this car. Another thing that I almost forgot to mention is that the grille is color matched. So it is not just black, it is diamond black metallic. So having a color matched grille and wheels, I think it really suits this car really, really good. All right, I think I pointed out pretty much all the unique things about this E60 in particular and other unique W210 AMGs as well. Most of these options were not available. So a couple of the things I showed were unique to this car, such as the leather headliner and some pieces of the extra wood. However, some of the pieces like on the door panel were available if you ordered it. Same thing with the security trunk. The most unique thing about this car is probably the extra leather and the color and perhaps the engine. So now I'm going to point out all the Euro options on this car. So obviously being Euro, there's no side marker, but this particular impact strip is unique because if it was a true Euro impact strip, it would have a cutout for the plate. So this is all smooth. So that is kind of a custom thing on this. So luckily with the xenon lights, all Euro and US lights for xenon are the same. So the only difference in lighting would be the deletion of the side marker. So this would be the turn signal indicator on this car. So pre-facelift US did not have this facelift that went to the mirror, and by the facelift going to the mirror, that kind of unified Euro and US cars. It's probably impossible to see, but this being a Euro car and having the proper windshield, does not have the tinted upper portion, as well as no window for the VIN, which would normally be right under the wiper. So while it is possible to order a US car without a sunroof, it is extremely unlikely that car would be an AMG. So you would have to actually special order a car at the dealer, brand new, which you would have to specifically request to be able to delete this option. Another Euro thing too is the mirrors. So we have the European glass with the aspherical section. So I did a full video on this if you want to put it on your car. So please check that out if you are interested. But we'll see here that the edge of the mirror is aspherical. So that is kind of like a blind spot mirror, which will allow you to see a little bit more. US cars never got this. So here inside we'll see the switch for the mirrors. So pushing it down folds them in, pushing them up folds them out. So that's where the switch would be. So the standard options for most W210 AMGs were the heated seats. The xenon lights I see not all of them have, so that was also optional, as well as the tow alarm. So we'll see this being an early car, of course had the single DIN radio, but we'll see that this is a very early radio, very much like a 124's radio. This later changed in later pre-facelift cars and of course on the facelift, and the facelift had the navigation option. So other than that, we have the sunshade, which is standard for most E55s, but it's a pretty bare bones car besides that. Being a European car, you can also get it with the fire extinguisher, which this one actually has on both sides. You'll see it has on the passenger side too. Taillights exterior wise look identical US and European models. However, I've seen some where they have fog lights on both sides. So on US cars, we only have the fog light on the driver's side, but in some markets it was on both sides. Of course, the Euro trunk, like I pointed out, it's the wider trunk. So obviously being a Euro car, it has the warning triangle. However, besides that, this is a pretty standard trunk for a W210. We got the optional nets, which was available on many others. CD changer on the side, of course. And other than that, this is just a full trunk, but it is standard. So in case anyone was dying to know, it does have a standard 18x8 front AMG monoblock Aero 2 in here. And it has the European tire size 235/40/18. So this looks to be like it's almost never been down. Very nice condition. Of course, tool bag, got some microfibers down there. Really nice. Being a German market car, we'll see on the sticker the primary language is German. We'll also see the units are primarily in the metric system with the US system underneath. We will see on the gas cap kind of the flake on that paint too, which is really cool. All right, so now I'm just going to point out all the standard AMG options on this car. So obviously most AMGs have the xenon lights, which is equipped with this car, and it has the headlight washers, which would usually come in pairs. This is the pre-facelift AMG bumper. Unique fog lights to this. Like I said, these are the R129 two-piece wheels. So this would technically not be standard on the W210, but we'll see underneath. These are actually the standard AMG brake calipers. So this is available on W210, W202, and W208 for the V8 AMGs. The rear brake calipers weren't particularly impressive, but they do work well. And this is specific to the W210 AMG model. And these rotors aren't particularly anything to brag about. However, the fronts are floating. We'll see the floating pins right there. They are permanently attached one piece though, so you have to replace the entire thing. And we will see here, this is the pre-facelift AMG side skirt. So the pre-facelift AMG cars were the only ones that had the lowers painted. And this has the circular jack holes. Here is the pre-facelift AMG bumper, which is standard on all 210 AMG cars. Of course, it had the AMG rear muffler, so this is specific to pre-facelift because the angle of the tips are slightly different to compensate for the bumper. This car sounds a little bit better because it has no resonator. Of course, we have the unique E60 badging. So this does not come in black, that is after the fact. This would be chrome. So of course all the badges match, and this has the standard period correct AMG badge. We'll notice that the A has this slant on both sides versus just one as the new ones. Another interesting thing is, I think because this is an early car, you'll see it has the Securite glass. It does not have the Solextra glass, which would normally come on later model 210 AMGs. This is pretty much standard across all W210 E55s. So all the difference in the glass would just be that it is factory blue. This would just be pretty much clear. However, it doesn't matter because this has proper ceramic tint on it. So another thing I wanted to point out is just how nice the condition of this car is. So the paint is obviously in very good condition, but also things like this window trim right here, which are normally all faded to gold, is still that deep black color. So this being a 1996, it would have the infrared key. So once again, this also matches the Brabus car in that way. And we'll see it just has a single button, infrared remote, flip key, nothing too fancy. So there you have it. This is a very special 1996 E60 AMG that was once owned by Domingos Piedade. So it's pretty incredible that this car survived this long in a condition such as this. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them below, and thank you for watching.